Welcome to Unit 2 in our Latin American Studies course. This unit is where we will be focusing on Latin America's geography. We will get a little bit more into defining what makes Latin America a coherent, cohesive region or not, a little bit more in this unit. In doing that, we're going to not only think about geography in terms of places on the map, which we will do quite a bit, but we're also going to think about one of the big questions that geographers work to answer in their work, and that is what makes space into a particular place. So what makes the nations, the places that we categorize and lump together as Latin America, what makes that space on the map or on the globe into a place that we call Latin America? And so hopefully we will get at that question as we work together over the next couple of weeks in this unit. To do that, we're going to delve deeper into that theme that I've thrown us all into, the theme of the travel log. So we're going to think about Alexander von Humboldt. There were many others who wrote travel logs or travel narratives in the 19th century. His is the one we're going to use as our jumping off point. For a few different reasons, one of which David McCullough wrote a great essay on him in a book that I have, and that's what we'll be reading, The Journey to the Top of the World. We're also going to read Candelario's It Is Said That Haiti is Getting Blacker and Blacker from her book called Black Behind the Ears about Dominican racial identity. Both of those consider the advent of the travelogue in the 19th century, but from slightly different angles. So McCullough isn't really asking the types of questions about how outsiders from Europe portrayed Latin America and how those portrayals shaped racial thinking within Latin American nations in the 19th century, how it shaped the way that people saw themselves and their relationships to Europe. That's something that Candelario gets into a lot more in her chapter. And I will warn you, hers is a little bit more jargony than I'd like, but I think that it's valuable. Her book is really good, but again, it can be a little bit more dense than I'd like to assign in classes like this at times. But again, I do think it's worth it. If you're interested and want to read more, you could check out her book. We're also going to either listen to or read the transcript of a podcast from Radio Ambulante. If you haven't yet noticed on Twitter, I'm kind of obsessed with Radio Ambulante. It's an excellent podcast, tells stories from around Latin America from a variety of different angles. The main executive producer and the person who is the voice behind Radio Ambulante, Daniel Alarcón, is an author himself, and his books have won a couple of different prestigious awards. The one that we're going to look at for this particular unit is called The Infinite City, or the Ciudad Infinita. It's about Lima. It's about a Swiss man who made a transit map for Lima in the 70s and 80s. So it'll help us to think about, again, another way in which Latin American spaces are transformed into places. There's also some hints kind of in between the lines in that podcast about how local people view their city and how others can become acquainted with it. So as you work through this unit then, we're of course thinking about that main question of space to place. We're also thinking about maps and the ways that we can interact with the world virtually these days. We can use things like Google Earth Tour Builder, which you will be using in this unit to complete your geography assignment. And you can use Google Earth, you can use Google Maps, you can use Street View, you can use other things besides Google. There are so many different ways to view places around the world and think about their geography and the way that humans are placed within them, that it's really great that we can travel without actually traveling in some ways. Now, of course, it's much better to actually go whenever you can. But at least we can do this since we are stuck in our class in New Mexico and a couple of other places that you guys have told me you're in this semester. Lastly, I have recorded that lecture on Latin American geography. So please do look at that. That'll help us also delve into these issues as you go through this unit. So remember that during the first week, you will be completing the Twitter assignment based on those readings and the podcasts that I mentioned. Oh, and about the podcast, if you speak Spanish, understand Spanish, please go ahead and listen to that. If you don't, however, there is an English transcript that you can read. Unfortunately, there's not an English language translation spoken of it. But again, if you click on the link, it'll give you the option of either listening to it in Spanish, reading a Spanish language transcript, or reading the English language transcript. So however you need to approach that, please do. You will respond to those on Twitter, as we did during the first unit, and you will complete the discussion assignment. I'll post the questions in Slack early when this unit begins, so that you can complete those during the first week. During the second week, you will complete your geography assignment on Google Earth Tour Builder. So please at least test that out. Watch the tutorial in the assignment instructions section of CNM Learn. Look over the instructions. The whole point of that is for you to create your own tour through Latin America that you can share with the rest of us. And it's a way of getting you acquainted with its geography more broadly without just making you do a static map quiz or something like that. So if you have questions about that, please let me know what they are as soon as possible. The whole second week of this unit will be dedicated to giving you the time to finish that and submit it. When you submit that, you will just send me the URL for your tour. You can either tweet it, you can email it to me, you can post it on Slack, however you want to approach that, just to make sure I get it. And then I will give you your feedback and your score in Blackboard as usual. So I think that's a good intro to what we're doing this unit. Please let me know, as always, if you have any questions, and I hope that you enjoy exploring Latin America's geography.